Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, there is growing pressure on the state government to provide financial assistance to businesses impacted by the East Coast highway closure. The first large rock was removed at Paradise Gorge today, but there is still no clear time frame on how long the major works will take.
Precariously perched above the Tasman highway, workers carefully jolt the first large rock out of its position to the ground below. Almost a week after the state government closed the highway due to serious safety concerns.
It is a big job. It's also got a lot of danger and safety protocols around it so that we get this right.
But there is no word on how long and how much the project will cost. Cam Brett, who owns Spring Bay Distillery and has production sites in Hobart and on the coast, is concerned about the financial toll of the highway shutdown.
If this goes on for any more than 3 or 4 weeks, the impact financially on us will be significant, and we're probably talking about really, the salary of one employee if it goes on for more than 4 weeks.
He also claims the only access, Willangta Road, is not safe.
My biggest concern is that someone will get hurt on that road. And I think really the government's probably been caught out, not so much with the amount of notice they've given us, but the fact that we were promised bitumen along that stretch of road some time ago, and there seems to be very little done.
I drove it twice in each direction yesterday. I'm really pleased with the performance of it. We asked people to drive to the conditions. Access is available between Orford and Hobart right now.
The government says the gravel road will be graded tomorrow and Saturday. The Small Business Council is calling for businesses to be compensated while the rock removal works take place.
The government is literally between a rock and a hard place in that their advice was very quick. They needed to do something now, and by now we should have a plan. So I'd be disappointed if by knock-off time tomorrow the government isn't talking to a number of businesses up there and offering them a solution, well, in the short term, some form of a cash solution to get past their cash flow woes.
We're asking individual businesses that may feel as though they need some help to reach out, and if we need to do more, we will respond accordingly.
Labor is calling on the government to make sure businesses and residents aren't left in the dark.
We do believe that there does need to be a plan, a considered plan by the government to work with local businesses, primary producers and industries to understand what the impact will be on their businesses and to understand how they can work constructively with them to provide ongoing support.
Before small coast businesses crack and can't come back. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania faces another health headache, with an army of workers considering leaving their jobs, according to unions. Despite government promises for a hiring blitz, allied health staff say they're battling low morale, high workloads and poor conditions.
Genetic counsellor Sarah Layton spent 3 years working in the public system. She's now crossed over to the private sector and doesn't regret it.
We have more resources to be able to actually see people.
A survey by Tasmania's most powerful union has found half its allied health workers, such as epidemiologists and pharmacists, are considering leaving the job. HACSU argues high workloads and outdated workplace agreements are threatening the bedrock of the state's health system.
You are having to turn away patients from your service, patients that should be there and patients that should be seen in that public setting.
A hiring blitz is underway for 180 new staff, but the state government could face a fight to fill the roles because of our healthcare reputation. Interstate applicants are also being frightened off by another challenge.
Our housing crisis has led to a number of people looking to move elsewhere rather than Tasmania.
A crisis that's growing worse. Figures released today show overcrowding in public housing has increased to 4.7%.
We never want to see overcrowding or Tasmanians waiting too long, but this is why we are responding so proactively. We have got significant investment that is rolling out right now.
There needs to be more than just press conferences and announcements about housing in this state. We've got almost 4,000 people on waiting lists.
A new government facing the same problems. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
A man is in custody following a 4-hour police standoff in the northwest overnight. Authorities were called to Arthur Street in Ocean Vista around midnight after a noise complaint. Police say the 37-year-old had been threatening to use a firearm, which was later determined to be a replica rifle. An investigation into the incident is now underway. Liberal MP Felix Ellis has been returned to the job following a recount in the seat of Braddon. For more now, we're joined by reporter Sean McComish outside Parliament House. Good evening, Sean. Now, Mr Ellis seems to be setting quite a pattern.
Oh, good evening, Kim. Yes, this is the second time that Mr Ellis has been elected on a recount. You'd have to say that he's one of the luckiest pollies in Parliament. The first time was following the resignation of Joan Ryler, but this time Mr Ellis is replacing Adam Brooks, who was recently elected at the state election. That was until Queensland Police charged Mr Brooks with documented firearms offences, triggering his resignation. The recount came down to Mr Ellis and fellow candidate Stacey Sheehan. As expected, Mr Ellis clinched victory earlier today, but stayed out of the spotlight.
Look, the people of Braddon have spoken and we're really excited to have Felix back in our team. Felix has demonstrated that he is a hard worker. He is clearly connected with the community in the relatively short time that he was a Member of Parliament, and I know that he's been warmly welcomed back by all my colleagues.
It doesn't mean that all the election dust has settled. Labor is yet to decide who will lead the party out of Shane Broad and David O'Byrne. And of course, questions remain over Adam Brooks. Kim?
Still a lot to play out before Parliament is back. Thank you very much, Sean. Tasmanian travel restrictions for Victoria are officially staying in place as Melbourne faces another week of lockdown. Travellers can only return to Tasmania if they're approved for a good-to-go pass. However, they'll still need to complete 2 weeks of hotel quarantine. Tasmanian residents are able to quarantine at home. Despite this, a special exemption is being prepared for North Melbourne to play its AFL match against Greater Western Sydney in Hobart on Sunday week. Public Health says chartered flights and strict COVID protocols are being planned to enable players and support staff to be at Blunston Arena for the June 13 fixture. The plan is yet to be finalised, and Public Health says it will depend on the situation in Victoria. The South Australian Government this week granted Collingwood an exemption to play at Adelaide Oval against the Crows. And Tasmanian television identity Peter Sharp has died after a battle with illness. Mr Sharp earned a reputation as a respected sports broadcaster, anchoring coverage on Tas TV and hosting events such as the Masters Games, Tasmanian Sportsman of the Year and Cup race days.
You're watching our live coverage of the 1985 Winfield Launceston Cup, and we'll be back to continue our coverage on Tas TV shortly.
Mr Sharp was also a member of the Tasmanian Football Hall of Fame. He was 78. A new foodie festival is warming up Tassie's winter. Agricultured will be held over 4 days throughout northern Tasmania in August, offering gastronomic experiences at cafes and restaurants, at the Launceston Night Market and on farms.
The whole aim is really about driving visitation to northern Tasmania within our cool season, so by activating the north of Tasmania in August.
It plays to our strengths. We know that we have amazing farmers and producers doing unique things here in northern Tasmania, and that opportunity to share with the wider community is a great opportunity here.
The event will run from August 5 to 8 with hopes for it to become an annual fixture. Electric vehicle owners visiting the Spirit of Tasmania terminal can fully charge their cars in the time it takes to have a cup of coffee. The port receiving Australia's first Tesla V3 supercharger, which TT Line hopes will bring more tourists to the state.
The Tesla V3 supercharger opening the door to driving tourism in Tasmania. This, the first of its kind in Australia, now stationed at the Spirit of Tasmania terminal. The cars are known for their fast speeds. Now they can be fully charged almost as fast, in just 20 minutes.
I suppose I should say that it helps keep the air clean, but really it's when someone in a Maserati pulls up next to you and thinks they can burn you off at the lights and they just can't.
New charging stations a draw card for locals to visit too.
People will come and visit a new charger. It's a great source of excitement for us, and I definitely have gone to at least 8 or 9 accommodation venues or restaurants that have Tesla destination chargers or easy charging.
It's hoped these new charging stations will bring more tourists and their electric vehicles to Tasmania for driving holidays.
This will give people a lot more range to travel onto the northwest coast and down the west coast as well.
A much needed boost as Tasmanian businesses feel the pinch of Melbourne's latest lockdown.
The numbers have decreased, as you would expect, with restrictions in place, but our forward bookings are staying very strong, and we're finding most people that are cancelling their bookings are actually moving to a later date once there's more surety around the border closures.
Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
It's a home away from home for some of Tasmania's sickest children. Now Hobart's Ronald McDonald House needs some help of its own. Volunteers hitting the phones for the charity's Appeal Day, raising much needed funds for families experiencing the toughest of times.
Sitting back, relaxing with a movie, 12-year-old Madison and her mum Catherine spending some quality time together.
I go to the family room in there and watch movies. And yeah.
It's just good to have somewhere to lay your head at the end of the day.
But this isn't their lounge room. It isn't even their own home. Hobart's Ronald McDonald House has long been a sanctuary for families like theirs spending time in hospital. A place to unwind after often traumatic days a long way from home.
It's a 5-hour drive from us from the west, so we're definitely not local for the hospital. So being able to come here and not have to worry about how am I going to get to the next day is a big thing.
Try and provide them with a de-stressing experience when they get here and just help them through what they're going to go through for the next however amount of time.
Now the organisation needs help of its own.
Oh, hello Kathleen, it's Greg from Ronald McDonald House.
It's Appeal Day telethon aiming to raise more than $100,000, all donations in the 24-hour period matched by its partners. And with each night's stay costing $160, they need all the help they can get.
We, the volunteers here, are the most privileged people ever, to be able to have the connection with the families the way that we do. We're extremely privileged, really.
Joe Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
A Tasmanian school has achieved an astounding fundraising feat, the largest amount donated to the state's Cancer Council from a single event. Grade 12 students at Launceston Grammar walked 80 kilometres over 24 hours for the annual walkathon, raising a staggering $70,000.
It was very tough and I think it was a big challenge for all of us, but again it was really special to be walking for something other than ourselves, which is our charity.
All the money stays here in Tasmania, which I think is very important for all the students to understand, and it goes back into our support services, our cancer prevention education policies, and also back into important priority research.
The large cheque was handed to the organisation at a school assembly this morning.
After being overlooked in the pre-season draft, North Launceston's Jackson Callow has been given a lifeline by the Hawks. He was snapped up at pick 17 in last night's mid-season draft, vindicating a move to the SANFL.
At 6'4" and 96 kilos, ready-made recruit Jackson Callow has liftoff.
Flying over the top, Callow!
His move from North Launceston to Norwood has been fruitful, booting 11 goals from 8 games and leading the SANFL competition for contested marks. Now he's putting Tasmania back into the Hawks lineup.
He's got his opportunity, so all credit to him, and the hard work starts now for him, I think.
He joins Jay Lockhart, Ryan Mansell and Taryn Thomas as Northern Bombers elevated to the highest level in recent years. Like Thomas, he might even make his debut in front of a home crowd.
Obviously Hawthorn have a great connection with Launceston, so if Jackson's able to play a game out here, I'm sure there'll be plenty of people here supporting him.
He isn't the only shift in the past 24 hours. Tasmania Devils coach Cameron Joyce has formed his own pathway through the program, taking the reins of the Gold Coast's AFLW side.
I think I've built some relationships in a short period of time, so this wasn't about me going home, anything like that. It was just the opportunity that was presented in front of me.
What a way to cap off leading the girls team to its first final series, something Joyce sees as his legacy.
Certainly like a few of them playing for the Gold Coast Suns would be ideal.
Locally, it's 2 versus 3 as Clarence and the Northern Bombers look to stay within reach of the minor premiership.
It's a big test. Look, they probably outplayed us in the first round out here. They beat us for 3 quarters and we just had a really outstanding third quarter, and I think probably just got them by surprise a little bit.
We understand how we lost to them last time and what they did to beat us, so good to get them on our home deck and see where we stack up against one of the better teams in the competition.
The game is on Saturday at UTAS Stadium.
To netball, a Cavaliers player injured in a car crash will finally return to the court this weekend. Monique Dufty has missed the past 5 weeks but will suit up against Devon at the Silverdome on Saturday. The goalkeeper still has an eye firmly on the Northern Hawks though, after the top 2 sides drew in the last round.
Yeah, definitely. I think, for the past 2 seasons they've been the top team and they still are. Nothing takes that away from them.
Other games are Friday night in Newtown, Arrows taking on Corunna, while Waratah has Kingston. Richie Port has shot to 7th overall in the Criterium de Dauphiné after a time trial stage he'd later described as horrible owing to its toughness. Port held the fastest time for part of the stage, a steep 16-kilometre ride through France's Forêt region.
He is going to get there by 1.88 of a second. It is Port at the top who has the time to beat.
Port's time ended up being 6th fastest. He is 16 seconds off the pace overall. The race is considered a lead-in to the Tour de France.
Good evening. 15 in Hobart and Devonport today, a warmer 17 in Launceston. Burnie reached 16. 19 the state's top today at Friendly Beaches, 17 at Smithton and St Helens, and on King and Flinders Island, Low Head, Grove and Ouse all 15, Strawn 14. Extensive cloud over the state today with a cold front approaching. Further out and cloud extends from the Bight, a trough bringing cloud to New South Wales today. Tomorrow the cold front will cross the state early on. A high over the mainland will extend a ridge to Tasmania following the front. Coastal waters and northwest to westerly winds at 20 to 25 knots, swells reaching up to 5 metres in the south. And a strong wind warning is current from Wineglass Bay to Stanley. A possible shower for Hobart tomorrow 11, Huonville a shower in 10, Campania 11 also. Partly cloudy in the north, 12 for Launceston and Devonport, 11 on the way for Georgetown. Burnie partly cloudy and 12, shower for Strawn 11, Wynyard 12 degrees. A mostly sunny day for St Helens 13, Swansea looking at 12 and Port Arthur a shower and 10 degrees. Turning to Saturday now, and showers developing about the west and far south, extending statewide in the afternoon. Sunday, light showers for the northeast and southwest, showers increasing about the west, then extending statewide in the afternoon. And on to Monday, showers on the way, mostly about the north, west and central areas. Morning showers for Melbourne tomorrow, top of 14. Sydney looking at 20. Canberra morning fog and 15. 23 in Brisbane. Darwin 32. Perth a mostly sunny day, 21 degrees. And it's a cloudy evening, 14 in Hobart, 13 in Launceston, Devonport 13 also. A few showers on the way for the weekend, Kim.
Okay, thanks very much, Laura. We will see you tomorrow.